I used to believe that limitation leads to creativity. I still think it does in some areas. Lockdown was a pretty big limitation, and we got Bo Burnham's Inside, we got that Charlie XCX album. But after making this video, I now believe that limitations, more often than anything, just lead to things being more limited. I decided to watch 5 COVID movies with really bad reviews. What's a COVID movie? Well, it's essentially a movie about the virus made during the height of it, during lockdown. Will I end up seeing a bunch of incredible introspective pieces of art? Or will all of these films be more like this first one that I watched? The Bubble, released in 2022, starring Karen Gillan and a bunch of really famous actors. Pedro Pascal's in this. Just look at the screen that it says who all the actors are. The general plot in this is that Karen Gillan is playing an actress down on her luck. She's been in a few really bad roles and she's desperate for something that would work. So she's back at it, doing a filming that takes place in lockdown for some bullshit blockbuster series that she's been a part of. It must be a bit upsetting for the people who made this movie, because for them, that's probably the embarrassing movie that they'd like to get away from. Yeah. This movie was made by Judd Apatow. He made a bunch of movies that you've seen. He's made The 40-Year-Old Virgin. He's also made these ones that are also on the screen now. He has his wife, who's a famous actress. I forgot her name. She's acting in this. His daughter is acting in this. And I'm assuming that all the actors that are in this are probably his friends or something. The main problem with this movie is that while it has its moments, it just reeks of being made by someone who's been in the industry for way too long. All the jokes in this are about the industry.
This is your car. And I'm gonna step in and take the wheel. Might be a crazy ride, but it's gonna look great.
Oh, they're not. Not for normal people, but I'm with rich people. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
And I don't think that making jokes about the industry is an inherently bad thing. But if it's not done properly, it could just feel super lame. I mean, this movie is essentially just Tropic Thunder Light. You got all the exact same forces, you got the producers pushing down on the filmmakers, you got the entitled actors. But whereas Tropic Thunder kind of really goes wild with this concept, the actors are as entitled as a human being can get. It's a really crazy caricature. This movie, on the other hand, is just like a bunch of people standing in a room. It's a bunch of people standing in a room, and every now and again someone is like, gosh, aren't actors annoying? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that many actors. I make YouTube videos. It's just me and this camera and this ring light that I borrowed because I forgot my lights. I can only really relate to these things, or at the very least find them entertaining, if you make them do fun stuff. It's a comedy movie. Make it funny. Make it fun. They have 2 different scenes in this movie that are montages of people being bored while quarantining at their house. They did it once at the beginning with Karen, and then 20 minutes later, all the actors need to quarantine as well, so they do the exact same thing, of a person being bored in a room. Keegan-Michael Key is in this as a cult leader. Make him sacrifice a human being via Zoom. That's fun, you know? That's like a crazy scene that could happen. If there's anything that I learned from this movie is how important setting a tone is. This film has a ton of sex scenes, and I think they're supposed to be raunchy and fun, but it doesn't feel raunchy and fun. Because this movie feels so corporate, it just makes me a bit uncomfortable. Every time they do a sex joke, I'm like, ugh, can they stop? This corporate movie shouldn't be talking about sex.
Well, I'm gonna start dialogue-wise and then, move on from there, I guess.
You're gonna punch me up?
Oh, yeah.
If you're going crazy, you gotta go crazy all the way. You can't just pretend to be crazy, or else you're that picture of that girl in the supermarket with frozen peas on her head. You know the picture. I know so many of my fans are bubblers. You guys love this movie. You guys love The Bubble 2022, the movie about a bunch of celebrities talking about how hard it is to be a celebrity, but then making fun about how they're saying that it's so hard to be a celebrity. You guys are true bubblers, and I respect that, but sometimes a man just needs to speak his truth, no matter how hard it gets. And I really couldn't have done it without today's sponsor, Air Up. Just the flavors coming out of this scent pod gave me so much confidence. You see, here's the thing about Air Up. It's this completely new and innovative way of consuming water. It makes your water flavored using these scent pods over here. One of my main goals for the new year was to cut down on my sugar intake. I was sugaring it up all day, every day. Put the pod on the lid and then lift it up to activate the flavors. And then when I drink it through the straw, water goes through the scent pod into my mouth. My scent-based taste kicks in, which essentially means that I'm smelling this peach flavor through the back of my nose in my mouth. And it tastes great. I let my entire family try it. My brother won't stop talking about Air Up all day. I gifted him a bottle and he's been taking it to school with him. He loves it. Which is great because what enters your body while drinking Air Up is just plain water. No added garbage. Just water. My brother asked me, how do they do it? I tell him, listen kid, with Air Up, you don't need to choose between health and flavor. It's the best of both worlds. Visit the link in the description to get your own Air Up bottle today, is what I told him. There are a lot of TikTok related scenes in this movie. My only assumption is that Judd Apatow's daughter really likes TikTok. And she's been telling him all about it. And maybe he got excited about TikTok, so he decided to put it in the movie. There's so many scenes. There's this scene. There's that scene. They're filming a TikTok again and again and again. Half this movie is just TikToks. They do an apology TikTok at some point, which is what that one girl did. The TikToker is played by Apatow's daughter, and even though it's a nepotism thing, I think she does a decent job. She gets cancelled at some point in the movie.
We need to do something. That was a really bad idea.
Number one priority right now is canceling Crystal Chris.
Which is exactly what's gonna happen to me when news spread that I'm not a big fan of The Bubble 2022. In general, there are a bunch of things that I did like in this. A bunch of the jokes did land. Pedro Pascal is great in this. He's playing this pretentious actor guy.
I don't watch my own shit. You should never watch your own shit. You just wipe, you flush, and you move on.
One of his bits in the movies that he's just going around this hotel desperately asking people if they'd like to have sex with him.
Do you want to have sex with me?
I'm eating blood.
Sorry. Gunter?
I'm done eating, but I'm okay, thank you.
Fred Armisen is pretty funny in this. He looks great in a wig. Karen Gillan delivers my favorite line in this movie.
Carol, what's it been like being back on set with all of your Cliff Beast buddies?
I find myself smiling the whole time, and then I come home and my face hurts from all the smiling.
Made me genuinely laugh out loud. It's just that this movie lacks a certain oomph to it. They're making this movie and every now and again there's something wrong that goes on, but it doesn't feel like it matters that much. I don't feel like I have a lot to care about, really. I think the main problem with this film is probably stated in this scene.
People don't want to hear celebrities complain about how hard their movie sets are. They have real problems.
Absolutely. 4 out of 10. Corona zombies. Call me an idiot all you want, but I had high expectations for Corona zombies. Obviously, I didn't think that it was good. It's called Corona Zombies. But god damn it, I thought that it would be fun. I wanted a fun, bad movie about a bunch of people who become zombies because of COVID or something, you know? I definitely think that the trailer was a part of why I had that expectation. It tricked me into thinking that I'm gonna be seeing something that's fun.
Breaking news.
Coronavirus.
Round 0 of the virus. This was taken moments ago at the Wuhan, China soup factory.
But what I got instead is something that I think could barely be described as a movie. And I'm not saying it in this sort of like condescending film YouTuber sort of way where like, oh, this movie's so bad, I don't think it's a movie. No. When I describe to you what I've just seen, you'll agree with me that the validity of this thing as a movie is something to be contested. So this thing starts with one of those like CGI title screens. Haven't seen one of those since the original Hulk movie with Eric Bana, but here we are again. It's making a comeback. Oh man, I wonder what was the reason for this creative choice. Could it be that this film is like barely above an hour? Could it have something to do with that? Could it be the one little thing they added to just kind of take it over the edge? Our main character's name is Barbie. Keep in mind that this was made nearly 4 years ago, so it doesn't have any connection to the recent movie. And I can tell why they waited 3 years to drop Barbie after this. They were probably scared to be compared to this, because this Barbie was just written with this incredible level of depth.
Barbie, you need to turn on the news.
News? Ews.
Just try it for once.
So yeah, she's standing in the living room, her friend tells her to check the news, and as she's watching the news unfold about the corona zombies, she's just delivering this never-ending stream of horrible one-liners.
Coronavirus? Is it a holiday?
Originating in Wuhan, China.
Wuhan? But I love that rap group.
Complete isolation is the key in stopping the spread of this virus.
So like a typical Saturday night then?
And in some cases, moderate to severe death.
Death?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have some disturbing breaking news.
That sounds bad.
I get it, okay? She's blonde and she's a woman, and he decided to write her to be dumb. I get the joke. Okay, I've read this in many joke books in the early 2000s. Is this all we're gonna get for this movie? Is this what this thing is? Am I gonna have to sit here as this woman and her friend on the phone go through in depth about how to wipe your ass with a limited supply of toilet paper?
This chick straight up tried to karate chop me for the last pack of toilet paper. I was like, if you need it that bad, take it, hooker.
Well, no. It's actually worse than that. Because what I told you up until this point, that would still sort of count as a movie. A bad one, but that's a movie, I think. At about 4 minutes, they show footage from the soup factory that, in the world of this movie, is what started the pandemic.
Is it soup yet? We've got to cool off the kettles or they're gonna blow.
And as you can probably tell, this is just the person who made this dubbing over like some old movie. That's all this is. I saw this and I was like, okay, whatever, it's just a low budget movie. You know, they're doing this as like a little cutaway gag. The main plot is gonna be with this woman and her attempt to get toilet paper, and then we're gonna cut back into this, and that's the meal that's being served to us. But then they keep going back into the whole weird dubbing thing.
Let's make it quick. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about this. Let's roll.
And then, as we keep going, we get less and less footage of that Barbie girl, and then we get more and more footage of this weird, incoherent dubbing thing that this person clearly just did off the cuff. I mean, I think so. I don't think that this is something that would be pre-planned.
Naturally, the famous Barbara Jensen lady reporter has no sympathy for a struggling musician.
That's the whole movie. They're just overdubbing this thing. And it's not really funny. Like, I've seen videos like that, you know, on YouTube. Like, of them doing that to different kinds of animes or whatever. This is just dog shit. Like, all the jokes are so bad. Half of them are also racist and evil. They do a bunch of racist impressions of people whenever they voice someone who isn't white. Just really disgusting stuff, you know? They just pretended to have a plot at the beginning, but that is a lie. It's a lie sold to us by the Hollywood elite. The story in the dubbed sections is supposed to be about some COVID task force that is supposed to get toilet papers for the people or something. I feel like even if you find this gag funny at first, the shtick and just the endless jokes about, like, they show someone who was shot and then they're like, ooh, I bet this guy didn't wear a mask because the guy got shot in the original movie.
I think we should have some masks on. Or some hand gel at the very least.
But they just repeat the jokes a lot, and I don't find that very fun or interesting. 59 minutes and 20 seconds, 40 seconds before the film ends, we finally get to see Barbie again as she's buying toilet paper, only for her to get attacked by a zombie and thrown into green screen. Why not make the whole movie that? From what I understand, they filmed this with every cast member being in their own bubble. But even like a crap movie where like everything is done homemade on a green screen, I think would have been so much more fun than this. The trivia for this on IMDb says, the majority of the film is repurposed footage. Large chunks of Bruno Mattei's Hell of the Living Dead are redubbed and mixed together with scenes from Zombies vs. Strippers 2012. Jesus. The only new footage features Cody Renee as a ditzy blonde named Barbie. So even the IMDb trivia only serves to warn you that you shouldn't watch this thing. I don't know, man. 1 out of 10. I feel weird even about rating this. It's clearly just something that someone made in their house in like a day. I mean, literally, it was released in April 2020. So about as early as you can imagine for something like this. After the Pandemic is a movie that I actually enjoyed. Thank you. I'm happy about that as well. Watching this, I don't know what their actual budget was, but you can tell that it's a low budget production, just, you know, kind of visually. But compared to Corona Zombies, these people actually tried. It starts with a classic news exposition montage letting us know that it's mainly teens that have developed this sort of immunity to the virus. A lot of people are dead, 5.3 billion of them, making this essentially a teen dystopia. I thought I was done with all of them with that one video I made, but I guess this is a sequel. But wait a second, if it's mainly teenagers alive, who's this guy talking in the news?
All major cities have gone barren, with masses of citizens taking refuge in underground bunkers.
He doesn't sound like a teenager to me. So here's the general plot of this. Our main girl, Ellie, has been living in this horrible kind of situation for the past 5 years. She still doesn't really know what she's doing, apparently, because she's like walking around eating cat food. She's eating like rotten apples or peaches, I think it was. I mean, she has no idea what she's doing. But then she meets this girl who they seem to have a very good connection with each other. This girl's name is Quinn, and she teaches her how to have an apocalypse sort of lifestyle, and Ellie teaches her back how to love? Ooh la la. There's a vibe to this movie that I really enjoyed. The color correction to this was probably just done in Premiere or something and not a color correction program. But hey, I mean, they ended up with these just very cool colors. The music in this is just phenomenal. It's just this very nice, synthy sort of soundtrack that gives this movie an almost otherworldly sort of tone. Like something about this shot with this synth. It just hits, man. It just hits me good. Both Ellie and Quinn are quite soft-spoken, which I think also aids to this sort of vibe.
What's the last thing you ate? Black peaches.
And I want to give a big shout out to this. I love what they did with the bodies of the people infected with the virus. They're literally glowing. They're getting COVID has made their skin glow. They're glowing. They're glowing because they had COVID. They're glowing. Their skin is glowing. Quinn and Ellie meet when Quinn decides to save Ellie's life. She's about to get found out by the bad guys who wear something similar to what I'm wearing. That's one of the main repeating themes between all these movies. Whoever's dressed up like me, they're doing some evil deeds. They're using like a sonar sort of sound detection kind of thingy to try and find all these teenagers so they can then steal them and then find what makes them immune. You'd think that after 5 years, they've kind of like figured that out. Like there's so many teenagers in the world, that they'd probably have had enough to kind of figure out what makes them immune up until this point after 5 years. The whole sound thing really plays into the plot because it kind of creates this very a quiet place sort of scenario where our characters need to stick to this sort of softer kind of tone so they don't get caught by the bad guys. Wait, Quinn, you can't block her mouth and her nose. You're gonna suffocate her to death. The movie very, very, very obviously suggests that they're a thing, but there's never like a kissing scene or anything like that. She does bathe her though, like Quinn does give her a shower, and then they sleep in the same bed. And Quinn tells her, there's no way that I'm ever gonna sacrifice my life for anyone.
I won't put my life at risk for anyone else.
Even though that's the introducing scene. The first scene with her was her doing just that. And then Ellie's like, that is just sad, man. You're living a sad, sad life. And then at the end, spoiler alert, by the way. This is big spoiler alert. I actually kind of recommend you watch this one because I think it's pretty fun. At the end, Quinn is about to do just that, abandon her friend or girlfriend, probably girlfriend. But then as she runs off, she's looking at this beautiful lake, and that changes her mind. And you know what? I think that's so nice. The beauty of nature softened her. I think that's cool as hell, man. Is this a perfect movie? No, absolutely not. It gets a bit slow sometimes. There's some things that just don't make a lot of sense. Like, how is Ellie that bad at apocalypsing? Why does she eat the bad peach? That doesn't make any sense. Because of how quietly our two main characters speak throughout the whole thing, it feels really, really weird when someone suddenly shouts.
Hey! Hey, please! Take me with you, please!
Hey, please take me with you, please! Just really funny. Just a really funny, both a line and a delivery. There are some points that I'm like, are the people that are supposed to be a threat to our main characters actually that much of a threat? The guys that are dressed up like me are mainly shooting them with like tranquilizer guns. So I'm just thinking like, you can probably wear some really thick clothes. Right? They're not getting shot with bullets. And then we have the survivors, the other threat. This is how Quinn describes them.
Don't trust survivors. They may act like your friend until they kill, cook, and eat you.
She says they'll eat you. They'll cook and eat you. Like food. But then we actually meet a pack of these survivors.
I'm gonna cook this one up medium rare. Really gonna taste so good.
Oh my god, he's gonna eat her. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that very much. They just don't look like they've been living under the sort of conditions that would make you eat a person. They're just kind of dressed normally, like with a t-shirt. At least, you gotta at least cut some holes into that t-shirt, you know? His hair looks too normal. It needs to be some crazy sort of Mad Max kind of freaky sort of hair. He needs to have a more like a crazy f***ing beard. He needs to have like blood under his lips because he's been eating so many people, you know? But then we get this just really fun shootout sequence where like Quinn and the survivors are just kind of walking around the car. And then they just keep shooting each other. And then Quinn shoots one of them in the leg. It looks like Kool-Aid is dripping out of his leg. And I think that's great. That is the sort of thing I want to see in this sort of movie. People actually trying to do practical effects. Fun stuff. Since I had such a nice sort of experience with this movie, I then decided to go on IMDb and also to the YouTube comments because this entire movie ended up being posted on YouTube to see what the people have to say. Here, let's read some of these reviews. Good to know that all the gardening and cleaning people survived and kept the place clean for 5 years. My backyard looks like an apocalypse movie just after 5 weeks. It's clearly a low-budget movie. Total garbage. 5 years after everyone has supposedly died from a virus, the lawns are still neatly mowed. The corpses have not rotted and still stink. Total amateur hour. The corpses that look like a fucking ruby stone. That's not supposed to be a normal body, I think. Man, if I spent the time on making a feature film, and then half of these f***s would just talk about the lawn, I'd lose my shit. This is like when I made that one Evil Pinely video where I pretended to not know what a liver is because I thought it's funny. I thought it's a funny joke. And then every comment that I got is like, Pinely's so stupid. He's such an idiot. He doesn't even know what a liver is. He doesn't even know where a liver is. Well, I know where a liver is, bitch. It's right here. Bad. So bad. How is it possible to make such a bad movie in 2022? Before I read the rest of this review, keep in mind that 7 out of 10 people found this to be helpful. How is it possible to make such a bad movie in 2022 with such good video editing software freely available? This is pathetic. How is it possible in 2024 to write a bad book when typewriters do a perfectly good job typing things up? I think it's more than fair to criticize this movie for, you know, what I said earlier, the fact that sometimes it doesn't feel like this is an apocalyptic world. But you gotta be aware of the limitations that this was made under, right? This is a free movie that you're watching on YouTube, most likely. That's probably how most people watch it, because the YouTube upload has 500,000 views. So focus on critiquing the places where it matters. The writing, the way these characters act, that could have presented the fact that they've lived this sort of reality better. Again, the clothes, simple design stuff like that. I mean, the movie had the budget to have 5 cars. They can probably cut holes in a few shirts. But yeah, generally, I had a very fun experience watching this. It's, you know, it has its flaws. The way I see it, I think for me, it's like a 6.3 out of 10. Maybe something like that. Like a 6 out of 10, you know? 6 out of 10. That's my final score for now. Hey, camera. Hello. I had to invite you today because I just have this incredible pitch for a dystopian movie about COVID. I want to hear it. So he started off with a news report montage scene, letting us know about everything that's been happening. Oh my god, that is crazy. And the news scene tells us that the concept of this movie is that it's like COVID, but bigger. Oh my god. It's big COVID. The biggest COVID you can imagine. And the new strain, it has a dumb name like COVID 25. Ooh. COVID 3000. COVID 1 million. And we find out that this COVID apocalypse is actually worse than all the other ones because of a few clues. Clue number 1, and I'll let this guy say it.
Guess what? Burger King's gone!
Burger King is fucking gone. Clue number 2.
It's the end of the world, bro.
And you know, this would be the filmmaker's subtle way of telling us that this is in fact the end of the world. Bro. Songbird 2020 is the first movie that I was aware of that is part of this COVID movie trend. It made its rounds. The trailer has a few million views, and I think a big reason as to why that happened is because it was essentially the first one to have some sort of a budget attached to it. Some sort of, you know, recognizable actors. Michael Bay produced it. And I mean, it has so many of his signature kind of stuff. Like, the movie is so unbelievably yellow. This is actually the second time I watched it. I watched it a few years ago, right after it came out, for a scrapped video that my friend Seamus Gorman made at the time. And even though I've already seen this twice, my brain continues to detach myself from this every time I watch it, just because it's such a drag. Our main guy, I don't remember his name, he's like immune to COVID, and he's delivering packages to those who have been locked in their homes for the past 4 years, because now the strain is so crazy that if you get it, you can pass away in 48 hours. Which I think is a decent premise. That's an interesting character to follow. I'll actually start off by listing all of the things that I like. This is a happy channel now, where I say things that I like all the time. First thing I like, main character and his love interest actually have really good chemistry in my opinion, even though they almost never share a room together. I think that's a pretty cool achievement. You know, most of their acting together, like 99% of it, is through a phone screen. So, good job, guys. Good job to whoever directed this, and good job to the actors. Second thing is that if you hated After the Pandemic, you're probably gonna love this movie because there's an in-plot presentation as to why the gardening is all right. Look, he's watering the plants. Are you happy now? Are you f***ing happy now? You gardening obsessed maniacs? I think the cast is cool. Guy who would have voted for Obama a third time is there playing a horrible husband slash creep slash harasser kind of guy. They're always making him play some fucked up character. Craig Robinson, who was in The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine, is in this. He's like the guy kind of behind the scenes, behind the computer, telling our main guy where to go. And my God, he clearly filmed this in one day. One day is a stretch. I think they probably wrapped up his section in like, I don't know, 3 hours. He's just sitting there like in this room, and he clearly doesn't really know in which way the words of what he's saying relate to the plot.
Are you at the court?
No.
I have GPS.
Then maybe?
Make a 3 for Kobe and get going.
At some point, they have him driving around in like a golf cart. I just love this guy. I just like seeing him in things. So that's a point from me. Thank you for putting him in that room for that one day. Thank you very much. The things I don't like is that while I thought that the general premise of this is cool, I feel like whenever this movie needs to make some sort of a creative decision, it usually just goes for the more generic one. Best example for this is the news exposition montage that kicks everything off. If I have to give a credit to The Bubble for one thing, is that they are the only movie so far up until this point that hasn't done that. Literally the only one. The first like 15 minutes of this is just people from various pieces of media dumping a billion pieces of exposition on my head. It's kind of relentless.
New strand, new year. They're saying people who are catching this are dropping dead within 48 hours.
Okay, so there's a new strand, and this one kills you in 48 hours.
Yesterday, I saw a 10-year-old girl getting dragged from her house and taken to the Q zone.
There's a quarantine zone. Okay.
COVID is airborne. No one should leave their home for any reason.
Ah, this one is airborne. Oh, okay. You can't leave the house. Like I said, our main guy is one of the few immune people in this world, which creates a pretty interesting dynamic, right? He can't really go and visit anyone because his body is essentially carrying all these diseases that could spread to other people, even though he's fine. So while he is free to be out there and roam the world, he himself is incredibly lonely. And, you know, I wish that instead of showing me this interesting dynamic with actions and scenes, they'd instead say it to me with words.
So these muties live alone, total isolation. They can't go near friends or family because they might get them sick. Remember that the next time you're pining for one of those yellow bracelets.
The whole movie is based on this delivery guy's attempt to rescue his girlfriend after her grandma died in their shared apartment from the disease. So now he's like in a rush because the bad guys are gonna go to her house and take her to the Q zone. So the whole movie is about him trying to get some, you know, black market immunity bracelets and put it on his girlfriend so they can go out and kiss each other a billion times. So he's like killing people, and he's like getting help from Craig Robinson and this guy who watches Twitch. That's not a dig at the actor or anything. That is his. That's the character. So Twitch guy and Craig Robinson are on a mission. They're both helping him. It's incredible. And now, camera, you're probably like, what's his big plan? How are you gonna rescue this girl from this dystopian government? Well, it's actually pretty simple. His big plan relies on the hopes that A, he'll manage to get this impossible to get bracelet, and then that his girlfriend will somehow, after getting caught by the dystopian police, will manage to escape from the car that she's in, run off to him, hug him without, you know, getting shot by all the bad guys that are there, and then for him to secretly, while everyone is around them, put the bracelet on her hand, and then for the medics and the cops to not suspect that anything weird just happened here. It needs to rely on them thinking that they've put this person in the car to bring them to the Q zone without looking at whether she has a bracelet or not. And all of this needs to happen while she has essentially no idea that this is what he's planning. And you'd be surprised, but it actually worked. There's also this really weird plot line with like a Twitch viewer and a hot Twitch lady falling in love. He wins her over by assassinating the guy who's been like harassing her. It's fucking crazy B-plot. It really feels like a self-insert by someone who worked on this. It feels really weird. I don't really get the point of that. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's not like the worst movie in the world. I've just rather watch different things, you know? This is the movie that like really set the protocols for how things were filmed during COVID. It has like 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I do think that it's a bit harsh. So I'm not gonna give it a 9. I'll give it a 3 out of 10.
I'm gonna go with you over the experience of me trying to watch the movie 2025.
The world as we have known in 2020 does not exist anymore. The virus changed the world. It did. It did. Communism is all over the place. Okay. A global state developed. Meetings are illegal. Traveling is illegal. And Christianity is illegal. And then I did this. Because I realized that I watched this movie already. I watched it for that video I did with Seamus a few years ago that never released. And I was like, this was so shit. I'm just gonna talk about something I like.
Hey, New York. I spend a lot of time with my landlord. I usually go down to her apartment around 7 o'clock, and we watch Jeopardy together.
How To with John Wilson is a very special documentary series and a strong contender for maybe my favorite show of all time. I've been looking for a good excuse to bring this show up for a while now, and How to Make a Perfect Risotto, the season finale of season 1 of the show, is exactly that. It has a lot to do with the whole pandemic thing. At its core, this episode is about the very lovely relationship between John and his landlord.
She even gives me slippers to make sure that my feet aren't cold, and insists that I call her Mama, and brings me cactus and cucumbers.
Wanting to repay her for all the love and food that she's given him, John decides to try and learn to make her favorite dish perfectly. A risotto. And he takes this task incredibly seriously.
When you're walking around your neighborhood, just keep your eyes peeled for any Italian flags. And if you see one, just start walking towards it, and hopefully someone near the flag will know how to cook it. Do you know how to make risotto?
Risotto is actually one of my favorite dishes.
He learns from the best. He even keeps a risotto journal. And he really tries. He has to get this right. But time and time again, he fails. His risotto is devastating. The way John Wilson depicts New York is like nothing that I've ever seen before. It's almost like he's filming a National Geographic documentary series about this living alien planet. We become familiar with this planet. We're used to seeing it in every single episode. But as John is working on this dish, we start noticing a bunch of changes.
And when you hop on the bus, you'll be surprised that you're the only passenger, which is great, because you can sit anywhere you like. And you may notice that some of the Ubers have started taping tissue boxes to the outside of their car, but it looks like everyone is trying to get a piece.
The changing face of the city begins unraveling in front of us bit by bit, but we've been so focused on this Italian dish that it's like you're getting sucker punched in the face by a TV show. What are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? I just want to hear more about the dish. I don't want to know about the grim realities of life. But that's exactly when he decides to take us back to where we started.
You doing okay?
Yeah.
You hear about the virus?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think, yeah.
I hope God knows.
Yeah.
He take care about us.
Yeah, I hope so.
John now doesn't really know what to do. He's scared to hurt her. But as he finds out that Mama has been secretly leaving him food outside of his door,
This seems like a great workaround that you didn't think of before.
he decides that he's gonna be doing the same thing to her. So he gets back to work, and this risotto now becomes his way to show affection towards her in a time where he wasn't able to do that in person anymore. He couldn't just sit down with her at the end of the day like he used to, but this risotto, if he gets it right, becomes supplementary of that. The time spent on the dish for the time that we can spend together right now. I don't want to spoil the rest of the episode, but I will just say that the ending of it made me cry like a big baby with a smile on my face. For me, at least, it's a lot about how even when we're going through these things, even when there's so many limitations, we're still gonna try and look for ways to show people that we love them.
I guess it's just best for me to stay in here for now, where I can dream of the day when we can finally eat together again. And I may just have to relearn everything I thought I knew. But that's okay, because we're all gonna have to figure it out together.